Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We are going to be talking with a very accomplished architect on different trends that are happening around the country and just the state of architecture, because it really is the backbone to building. You know, you don't have a good architect, you don't have good plans, you don't have a good finished product. John Riggio is back with us, and he is the architect and CEO at John Riggio, LLC. Hey, John, how are you doing?
Good. How are you, Steve?
Doing very well. Great to have you here. I know you're in New Jersey. I'm in the New York area. If we have if anything glitches, I'm just going to put the disclaimer out there, a massive thunderstorm rolling through here right now. So hopefully that won't affect us. But I guess that also gets to architecture, proper water drainage, you know, because it can cause a lot of damage. I've dealt with that. I'm sure you've dealt with that a lot of times too, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think the from the New York area to here, I'm really in the metro area of New York City. It isn't too far away.
Yep.
And yeah, so the weather going on in New York City with like flooding, it was happening here too. The big storms, the weather's exactly the same.
Gotcha. And what's your, you know, while we're talking about rain and water, which is, you know, big culprit a lot of times, you know, when you're dealing with a storm. How do you plan for that? You know, obviously you have to have proper drainage around a building, a structure, but what are some of the other things you do to divert water? Is that on your radar when you design something?
Yes, of course, that is very important. And here in New Jersey, they also have something that is called a soil erosion permit. So each job goes to the freehold soil erosion department, and that they have to check all the different things of water running off the properties, things like soil coming off the properties during construction, all kinds of things with trees getting removed, new trees being installed, things like that. So that is one thing that they do have here in New Jersey that's a standard on any large project, that you have to get a permit specifically to cover the soil erosion.
So when you're designing, let's say, something residential, are you thinking about the roof and how the water is going to flow, or does that, you know, is that the roofer's job?
No, really, that is part of the architectural design. And a lot of times the gutters and leaders, location things, they are shown on the architectural plan. But I think usually all those things, they usually would culminate down and go to some piping, go to underground piping, go to either what they call a dry well, or things like retainage pit, things like that.
Yeah, and the only reason it's on my mind with the storm that we're getting outside here is that I've dealt with it. You know, I've had problems where water diverted in weird ways, and you know, then you had either a leaking window, leaky roof. Can be a real challenge, I guess, if it's not designed properly.
Yes, of course. Yes, that's right. There's always a big issue of flashing. It's a big issue with the water problem on houses. Flashing, a lot of times they decompose very quickly, maybe 10, 15 years. And then there has a big problem with water leakage in buildings and houses.
And the first thing comes to mind is there's so many different aspects as an architect that you have to be mindful of when you're designing. There's, you know, aside from water, what are some other things that are on your radar when you're designing a building or a project?
Oh, yes. Of course, the different things with the wind and the rain are a consideration, part of the architectural design, of course.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the, you know, the roofs that you design, and they can get pretty intricate. You know, it's not just a basic roof. There's, you know, a lot of things going on, dormers. I'm not even sure the name of the different styles of windows and roofs, but you know, different peaks. There's a lot going into a project. That's my point. It's not, you can't just, you know, whip up some plans and you know, hope that the computer generates it and you're good to go. You have to be mindful of all of that.
Yes, that's correct. That comes from years of training as far as working as an architect. All those considerations are already in the design. Flashings, all kinds of underlayment, water runoff with gutters and leaders, dry well locations, things like that. That is all taken in consideration. Also, things like that, you have to memorize a lot of codes over the years. So all those things, when I'm making the design, are already in my mind, looking at them, making sure that they're going to work.
Let's talk about the state of the economy and architecture and building. I know that there were some challenges a while back with the supply chain and you know, potential recession. Where are we at with that now?
Yeah, I think right now the talk of the recession has made some people question whether they want to go ahead with the job, as some things have been delayed. And then there was also the cost of construction of lumber really doubled. And now the price is coming down slowly. But those two considerations have brought about maybe some people waiting to go ahead with their job. So that could be a problem. If a few people don't decide to go ahead with their projects, things could slow down slightly. It is a possibility. So that's always one thing as an architect you always have to look for to prepare for anything that is making the economy go down. I mean, that is a possibility. Here right now, things have been going good for the last number of years. I doubled the size of my office. I've hired more workers to help me complete the projects. And so things are going good as far as that's concerned. And so that's the present state. Things are still busy and expanding.
Price of lumber right now, where we at? Not the exact price, but has the price leveled off, gone up, come down a little bit?
I think it's slightly down from the high point. It had gone up a lot. There was some problems, and it has come down slightly.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we often forget is the trucking industry to move all these supplies around, and with the price of fuel, especially diesel right now, which last time I checked came down a little bit, like 10 cents. It's a big consideration when you're working on a project and you got to get supplies delivered. Has that been a factor in some of the recent projects you've been working on?
Yes, things like that are a factor. Yes, for a while they were running out of I-joists, and that was a problem. And so things like that can cause problem for the job site. The materials could increase the prices of materials also.
Yeah, when you talk about that, I have a couple of friends that are doing some projects, and either they're working on them themselves or they have a contractor. But different things have taken so long to get. Like somebody ordered some doors. I'm not sure what type of doors they are, and that was back in late winter. And they're not going to get it. Maybe they'll get it in August. Have you heard of that? I mean, and I don't think they're like very decorative specific, but maybe it was a custom order. But there's still
yes, I have heard of that. Yes, I received a notice here from the Anderson Windows, just that there are some delays in the shipping and things like that. Yeah.
Wow, that's got to be a major challenge when in the construction arena. Once you've finished with your plans, are you pretty much done, or are you still consulted from time to time during the building of the project?
Yes, it depends on the size of the project. And yes, the larger projects, I am more involved during the projects, more inspections, might be more revisions, additional drawings might be necessary too, maybe additional detailed drawings, things like that. So that's usually on a larger job. And that is usually how it works. And then usually on each job, I usually staying on the project from the start to the end when the job is finished and they get their CO.
Yeah, I thought of that just now on a larger project. They may encounter a challenge while they're building it, and then would have to consult with you to, like you said, a revision to get around it. Does that happen from time to time?
Yeah, usually that is can happen with existing conditions. Any kind of existing condition, if you're doing with anything with the existing foundations, that's a problem. If with new construction, there's always different things they might find under the ground. They might find a large rock under the ground. They might find a cable line under the ground, things like that. And that would potentially make an adjustment in the drawing, or might make additional drawings necessary to correct the problem, things like that.
What are some of the biggest commercial projects that you've done in the last few years? Anything
I think the largest job recently is this 55,000 square foot warehouse, and the warehouse is made for a toothpaste factory. And this
Wow.
and with the toothpaste factory, he was also making the hand sanitizer too. So during COVID, he's making a lot of hand sanitizer, making a lot of toothpaste. And so this is a very large job. We've got to clear the site, put new drainage in, and do a 55,000 square foot warehouse Usually in two phases, building one and building two.
Wow. So that was from the ground up.
Yes, that's about the largest size warehouse I'm working on. I have a few other things like that too. But
Oh,
55,000 square foot is the largest.
yeah. That's large. It's pretty big. Has there, with a project of that size, is there anything that you need to make sure that is done in a warehouse structure? Because in my mind, when you think warehouse, it's just kind of an open building, storage and things like that. Were there any challenges or any things that you had to absolutely implement in that design?
And that one, the most important part of the design, the consideration that would hold the job back is really the traffic plan and the drainage in the
Mm.
area, because it was a property that is industrial and borders a residential area. So that's the biggest thing about that project.
Funny you should say that because the town that I lived in, I recently moved literally a month ago, but I was there for 7 years, and Amazon put their warehouse, excuse me, built it just what you said, up against the a residential area, and the considerations that had to go in, and there were people that were fighting it um, on the grounds of light pollution, sound pollution, emission pollution, and all of that, and those are all different things that needed to be addressed, and especially even something you wouldn't think of, the light that comes from a building like that needs to be tapered down, or there's challenges with everything that you design, I guess.
Yeah, we have a lot of those here in Edison. A lot of the warehouses for Amazon are over here.
Hmm.
They used to have a big Exxon Mobil plant here. They completely removed it and have all warehouses in there too. So there's a lot of those over here too.
Yeah, you get a lot of those when you're like that 55,000 square foot warehouse. Were there a lot of challenges with municipality that you had to adhere to in designing that?
No,
Really? Okay. Oh, I thought that they would be watching. There'd be, there's different things you'd have to take care of if you build something of that size.
no, it's somewhat straightforward.
Wow. Okay, great. So last time we got together, fascinating learning that you're a tennis pro.
Yes.
Hey, back in the day, and still teach and still play. And by the way, I'll just tell you that where I moved, I have a complex, and there's a tennis court there. And I just texted my daughter earlier today and said, "You want to play?" Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully this weekend we'll get together and do that. Love tennis. Not great. I'm not good. I admit it. But I love it. And you do a lot too. As a dad, you're active in the PTA as well, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, I'm president of PTA this year at my daughter's high school. Yes.
Oh, congratulations on that. That's got to be very fulfilling.
Yeah, it's good work, helping out, volunteering.
Yeah. So what's
That's
next
all I like doing it.
for you overall, either professionally or personally? What are some of the things you want to tackle? I mean, it's very successful, many decades long career as an architect. What's next on your radar?
Um, well, I think right now I am concentrating on continuing to expand and keeping myself centered in New York City.
Gotcha.
And I work in the 3 states. I work New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania.
How
But
does that work?
I like to keep my office centered in New York City. That is really where my office is centered. Even though I'm in New Jersey, it's really like New York City centered metro area. And that's one idea that I always like to keep to, and it seems to be the best, most successful way to do things. I think so. That's really what happens here. Because
Yeah.
if over here, if you come here, it's like living out in the suburbs. You have to stay connected with the center of the city. You can have a problem with your business. You can it could stop your business, slow it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, New York, the largest city in the world, and I'm on the other side. So you're over here. I'm over here, but you grew up here where I am, Long Island. And I'm about an hour and 10-minute train ride into the city. Is that really where your center is in terms of getting work and projects? You do most of them in New York City?
Yeah, I think my business is always centered in New York, and I do a lot of work here, of course, in the New Jersey area.
Mhm.
And but as far as I think a lot of people also that are working here, they're all getting on the train and they're working in New York City, Manhattan. So this is which is similar to Long Island.
Yep.
I used to live on Long Island for a long time. I had my office there, and it's a similar idea. People would get on the train and go into Manhattan to work. So I think everyone is into that idea already.
When did you leave Long Island for New Jersey?
Well, from Long Island, I moved into New York City. I lived in New York City for a long time, for like 15 years, and then I moved over here. And I've been here about 12 years, so this is pretty good.
Gotcha. Wow. What do you prefer? Do you like designing for commercial or residential? I mean, I know you must love both, but is there anything that you know, if you had to pick, I'd rather do more residential, rather do more commercial. Uh,
Well, commercial can become really big, like commercial, or even getting into designing large apartment buildings, things like that. The,
sure.
the thing about that is that usually is because when you're working on a job like that, there's usually a group of jobs. There's a bunch of them. Like I used to work on a lot of Exxon Mobil jobs. So it wasn't just one project, it was a whole bunch of them. And so when you're working on commercial, you might get a whole bunch of projects together, maybe as much as 20 projects together. And that gives you a stability of working. Residential is a little different. Residential is sort of working more on your reputation, working on from references, job to job. And although I've been able to do that, it's a little different than commercial. A lot of times commercials comes in bunches of projects.
Gotcha. In terms of your creativity as an architect, of course, you're doing a commercial project. It's a big one. Who wouldn't want to do that? But in terms of you allowing you to be creative, do you enjoy doing the residential projects, for that reason? Does it feel good to, be able to have a wider latitude to do things?
Yeah, the residential projects are good. I think I showed some samples. The residential projects are very involved with designing a lot of the all different aspects of the house and the property. So that's yeah, there's some good things about the residential. It's really good. It's involved. People like to take a look at those houses. That helps out.
Is for on the residential side, kind of curious, is open concept still big?
I think yeah, it's still big. People are still getting into opening the whole plan, and that's we're working on a lot of the new jobs we're working on. We're still opening up the plans, the opening up the ceilings, opening up the floor plans, trying to get a large span. Yes, that is still the current trend.
Hmm. Why do you think it's so popular?
I think a lot of it has to do with maybe making an open space that is allowing a lot of light and air in, that people are spending an extended amount of time in their house, maybe more people in their house with the COVID, and that is giving them, making a really nice interior space. I think that might be influencing that idea.
Hmm. I've always often seen with the open concept in a kitchen that it's the kitchen is the new living room. That's where everybody gathers. And that's, usually why it's so open and wide. So there's a lot of space. More people can fit in there. You can have that island in the middle where you can either prepare for food or eat food. But it's like that is the new kitchen, the new living room right now.
Yeah, I think the kitchen with the island has been around a while, and recently I think with the new expansions people are making, it's usually like kitchen, dining right next to it, and family room, and the whole thing flows together. It's like one big volume of space.
Gotcha. Yeah. And media rooms seem to be increasingly popular as well.
Yes, yes, a lot of the jobs. I think I showed one that has the media room where they're gonna put in like some theater seating, projector on the ceiling, things like that. Some of them are on the ground floor, some of them are on the cellar. A lot of people like to put them in the cellar space. And so yeah, that is still a going trend. A lot of people like to put in those theaters.
Hmm. Anything else stand out on the residential side that you're getting requests for? You have?
Um, well, I think the new trend was really a lot more curved stairs. Curved stairs have been
Hmm.
increasing in my design. There's a lot more curved stairs have been going on, and that makes you make the entrance lobby a little wider. It has to be at least 9'6" or wider. So it's getting entrance area is getting larger and wider because of that reason.
All right. So walk me through that as a non-professional. and not somebody that has the mind for that. So the curved stairs, it's going to curve over to the side, and that's allowing you to have more space in the foyer area.
It's required to have more spaces. You have to fit the
Oh,
stair in, so you need more room. So you need like 9'6" at a minimum. If you don't have 9'6", maybe you can bring it down to like maybe just 6 foot wide, and that's so you can get a more
wow.
narrow entrance.
And when you say that footage, you know, the 9'6", that is when you walk through the front door, the width that you have to work with there. Is that what that is that's the dimension that you're referring to?
Yes, that's correct.
I didn't know that. Okay. Is that a code thing or just a lot of people ask
Yeah,
for
it turns out to be a code because the stair is built off of codes, certain tread widths, riser heights, things like that, and that makes the stair where it can only curve to a certain width, and that's why you have to have a certain size lobby area, entrance area.
Yeah, last time, a couple of times ago, we got together. You were showing plans, and it was really super cool and creative. It was two stairs that converged that went around.
Yes, yes, that is very large entrance. Yes, we have 2 stairs on that. Yes.
Hmm. What about outside? You know, you design the structure of the house. What about the outside area? Would you take care of that if somebody had a request for that or give suggestions for that?
Yes, I think on some of the jobs I've shown, there are some exterior stairs. I do the exterior stairs, unless if it's more of a level entrance area. Like on one job with the ones with 2 stairs, I have 3 stairs, 2 to the side and one in the entrance, and it's a curved stair. Then some jobs might have more of like a step stair, like with like used with Allen blocks that are stepping down to the driveway.
Hmm. I was at a fundraiser a couple of weeks ago, and I was a fairly large house, but they also had a structure in the backyard, which was a kitchen, bathroom, fairly large size kitchen, refrigerator, and that was just for outside if you didn't want to walk into the house. But what a great idea. And it didn't look like it was that expensive to put that in and also to design it. You get requests for stuff like that?
Yeah, well, yes, of course. Yeah, usually with the rear decks, a lot of times we're going with composite deck these days, and yeah, there's I step the decks down a lot of times. Yeah, I usually with the exterior things like retaining walls and decks, if they're over a certain size, I always like to step them down. One reason is they're much safer. Someone doesn't take like a 10-foot drop off the side. I usually like to step them down maybe every 3-4 feet. And that is one design I usually like to have on those kind of projects. So I always propose stepping down the Allen block walls or even the decks, because you don't want to have like this big stair coming off the deck. I usually like to step it down.
So in describing that, so stairs would come down like this, and then you have a platform, then back down again, maybe another platform.
Yes.
So God forbid if somebody were to fall, it's not a 10-foot fall. It's only going to maybe be 4 or 5.
Yes, that's correct.
Interesting thought. And that's what I had on the house that I just sold. And we did some decking. In terms of decking, I mean, it's summertime, a lot of people doing upgrades on their backyard. As a designer, any preference for the composite? Any suggestions on that?
Yeah, I like the composite. The composite is much more long lasting. There's no maintenance with it. And I always specify the composite first. There's always a cost consideration to the owner if the composite is really going to be too expensive for them, but I always specify the composite first on any deck now.
Is anybody actually using wood for decking anymore?
Yeah, there are some wood
really?
decks, yes.
Wow. I would think you would just spend the extra to get the composite, just because of coming from somebody who lived in another house 8 years ago before this one. It was every single season going out there, stripping down the deck, refinishing it every year. I'm not even kidding. Every year I would have to do that. And I wish it was composite.
Yeah. I think with the natural wood, if you don't mind maintaining the deck, people still keep it the wood, but I would always just specify the composite deck.
Gotcha. Yeah. So big question. Are you playing tennis this weekend?
Yeah, of course. 3 days a week.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Where do you go to play? I'm just kind of curious.
I have my own meetup group. It has I have 3 events per week, and it's pretty good. It's over 1,300 people now.
That's fantastic. Wow. And do they know your history as a pro tennis player back in the day?
Yes, some of them. I don't really announce it to everyone. Usually after I talk to people a while, I would tell them, but I don't really announce it to everyone to start off with.
My gosh, I would be so intimidated if I was going to play tennis with you, and knowing that, I don't like a, maybe that's something you don't want to tell people because yeah, I'm busy that day. I can't really play, John. I'm really sorry. Yeah, because of your history as a pro tennis player. Could be intimidating. Yes. Yeah, that's fantastic. So I want to tell everybody your website. A lot of great examples up there. John Riggio, RIGGIO.com. And great meeting with you again and talking about architecture and some of the stuff going on in the industry. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. It's good talking to you, Steve.
You too. Yeah, have a great weekend, and we'll get together again sometime really soon.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. And we'll be right back. Hang on.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.